It's an AccuWeather alert day. Rain for most, but snowflakes falling in some parts of the Chicago area. How it's impacting your morning commute.
Breaking news, WNBA star Brittney Griner is finally back in the U.S. She spent nearly a year in a Russian prison.
And overnight, new information in that armed robbery that left a police officer wounded in Lombard. What we've learned about one of the suspects on this busy Friday morning.
Live from Chicago's #1 news, ABC7 Eyewitness News at 7 starts streaming now.
Good morning to you, everybody. I'm Val Warner.
And I'm Terrell Brown. Let's go outside. It's going to make us want to come right back in.
Right.
Check this out. Oh, or not. We can just, that's even better.
Exactly.
We'll take that. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Diane. And of course, when we have weather like this, what you guys say kind of go together. So, Tracy, we'll start with you. What's going on?
We get to be put in special boxes when we have weather like this. Yeah, we're calling it an AccuWeather alert day today. And really, here's why. We have a messy mix of precipitation already transitioning to some wet snow in parts of the area for our morning commute. Afternoon rush, not going to be as problematic as the precipitation is going to be slowing down. Winter weather advisory in effect, Lake McHenry, southern Wisconsin this morning till 1 o'clock. So I'm already getting reports of a transition to some snow. Even here in the city, I have heard and seen some observations with rain mixing with some wet snowflakes too. But the better part of the accumulation most likely is going to happen just north of Chicago. From Chicago due west, if you're in Naperville, Wheaton, Warrenville, very possible you could end up with a dusting to maybe up to an inch of snow, but 1 to 3 inches of accumulation going to be possible the farther north you go. I'll give you more details on all of this coming up. Diane, your turn.
Tracy, I was going to say, I don't know if you paid attention because you're so busy at Christian's live shop, but you can actually see some snowflakes on the north side of Chicago. But as Tracy detailed, the main event is really rain right now, and that's pretty much across our viewing area, at least immediately close to the loop, right? So let's go to Storm Tracker Live. OBR photographer is driving into the city on the Ike. In fact, he just got on the Ike from 88. So he started off in Woodstock early this morning and made his way over into the city. And you can see by his windshield wipers, really, all it is right now is a rain event. And that's pretty much what we've been seeing throughout the morning. When that changes, I'll bring you some live pictures of some of our cameras there as well. Back to the graphics, we could go real quick because I wanted to tell you that Michigan and Balbo, we initially had a light pole down that blocked the intersection. Looks like everything is open now, though. Val and Terrell, back to you.
All righty, Diane, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. And Tracy and Diane will be both be back in about 10 minutes. But you can track the weather in your neighborhood. All you have to do is check out our live Doppler 7 Max radar by downloading the free ABC7 Chicago News app from the App Store or Google Play.
And now back to breaking news. Brittney Griner is back on U.S. soil this morning.
Yeah, Griner stepped off a plane in San Antonio, Texas. She landed there around 4:30 this morning. The basketball star was released from a Russian prison following a prisoner swap after months of negotiations. She spent most of the last year or so behind bars.
ABC's Faith Abube is live in San Antonio with the very latest on this. Faith.
Good morning to you, Val and Terrell. U.S. officials believe Brittney Griner is in good spirits. They believe that she's in good physical health. However, just as a precaution, they've brought her here to the Brooke Army Medical Center for a medical evaluation.
WNBA star Brittney Griner landing overnight in San Antonio, Texas, after spending nearly 10 months imprisoned in Russia, arrested for illegally carrying hashish oil in vape cartridges at the Moscow airport. President Biden making the announcement Thursday that a swap had been made for Griner's release.
Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along.
Video from Russian state media shows Griner leaving a Russian penal colony and making her way to an airplane.
What's your mood?
Happy. Do you know where I'm heading to?
No.
No?
No. Вы летите домой.
You fly back home.
To the U.S.
To the U.S.
Да, конечно. Так что все будет нормально.
Everything will be fine.
Hours later, video shows Griner in a red coat released into U.S. custody on a tarmac in Abu Dhabi. The smiling man shaking hands and giving hugs is Victor Bout, the notorious Russian arms dealer who the U.S. swapped in exchange for Griner's freedom. Bout was arrested in 2010 and sentenced to 25 years for aiding a terrorist organization and conspiring to kill Americans. But Griner's friends, fans, and family breathing a huge sigh of relief.
I'm just standing here overwhelmed with emotions.
Sources say the prisoner swap came together in just the last few days. President Biden hoped to also secure the freedom of former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, imprisoned in Russia on espionage charges for 4 years. But Russia rejected the proposal, making it clear Whelan's release was not on the table.
And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. made every possible offer in order to try to get Paul Whelan back home. But so far, that has not worked. They are continuing their efforts. Live in San Antonio, Texas, Faith Abube, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Faith.
Terrell.
Faith, thank you so much. We have new information on a story that broke last night, the shooting of a police officer in West Suburban Lombard.
Yeah, it happened while the officer was headed to a call for an armed robbery. Jessica D'Onofrio was live in Lombard. And Jess, what did we learn about this overnight?
Well, Val and Terrell, we've learned that village officials tell us that one of the suspects involved in the armed robbery has died. Meanwhile, the police officer who was shot remains in the hospital this morning. The incident happened yesterday at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Lombard police say they responded to a call of an armed robbery in progress at a smoke shop near Roosevelt and Main Street. Police say the responding officers encountered 2 male suspects nearby. Police say one of the suspects opened fire on the officers, and that's when police returned fire. One officer was struck and one suspect was struck. This morning, village officials say the officer is undergoing surgery for a gunshot wound to the leg, but he is expected to recover. Meanwhile, that suspect who was shot did not survive. This morning, village officials say an independent investigation into the incident is underway. Meanwhile, a second suspect is in custody and charges are pending. Val and Terrell, back to you.
It's Jessica D'Onofrio in Lombard this morning. Jess, thank you. A 17-year-old will serve 40 years in prison for his role in a shooting and carjacking outside of Wendy's in Aurora. Came from a plea agreement, comes nearly 2 years after the attack that left a mother of 2 paralyzed. 2 adults were also charged. Police say a 4th suspect was killed during another crime.
Major damage to an auto parts shop in Chicago's northwest side. A car smashed right into this storefront at Cicero and Diversey yesterday. It left shattered glass and debris just everywhere. There was also concern that part of the structure might be unstable now, so building inspectors were called to the scene. No one was hurt.
Right now, Chicago police are looking for an armed robbery suspect who is targeting women on the north side.
What makes this story unusual is his getaway vehicle. Christian Picos is live in Lakeview with more on this story. Christian.
Val and Terrell, that's exactly right. Chicago police say the suspect here took off in a U-Haul truck after robbing each of his victims earlier this week. Now, this all happened in different north side lakefront neighborhoods, and police say they believe he is targeting women specifically. Now, CPD released a grainy new image of the man they say is committing these robberies. Police say he's believed to be 20 to 30 years old and is seen here wearing a black, blue, or gray jacket. The 3 robberies all happened throughout the day on Tuesday. The first reported at 10:10 a.m. on the 500 block of Grand Avenue. The next at 1:30 p.m. on the 5900 block of North Kenmore, and the last just before 9:40 p.m. on the 3000 block of North Pine Grove. Police say in all the reported robberies, the suspect got away with the victim's purse and then immediately used stolen credit cards to buy merchandise and other goods. Now, at this hour, Val and Terrell, Chicago police say no one is in custody. Back to you.
All right, Christian, thank you. A local chef is sharing his story after he was attacked by a stranger and pushed onto the CTA track last week. Jose Duran said he was standing just about a foot or so back from the platform edge, wearing his headphones, when a man pushed him onto the tracks at the Milwaukee Division stop. He suffered multiple injuries to his face and his head, and his jaw is now wired shut for at least the next 4 weeks. Duran narrowly missed the electrified third rail and says he's just grateful to be alive.
I just heard hey, and then I was on the tracks. It was a strong enough push that I just wasn't able to do anything.
Oh, Corey Patterson is charged with attempted murder and due in court later today.
We're watching this today. The Millennium Park Holiday Sing-Along continues today. Visitors are invited to sing with community singers and choruses to celebrate Chicago's diverse holiday traditions.
The Windy City Gay Chorus and Treble Choir, did I say that right? Or tonight's big guest. It starts at 6 at Millennium Park Cloud Gate.
Yeah, it's got a spelling thing going on.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it's hard to go from what we went to that. But
I know.
at least we had a bright note to end on. I'm still stuck. luck. Okay, well, you're running out of time to enter the Great Chicago Light Fight. Videos are due in by noon today, so we want to see the biggest and brightest holiday displays in the area. We're going to post the top 5 videos on ABC7Chicago.com later today. As soon as they're up, you can vote for your favorite throughout next Wednesday.
And we're going to announce the winner on the 6 a.m. show next Friday, December 16th. Roz will be live at the home that gets the most votes. It's going to be fun.
A week from today.
Yeah, we might be knocking on your door.
Clean up the house. We're not coming in. We're just kidding.
Live and local news just getting started this morning, streaming out loud. When we come back, Operation Santa is getting some local help from some medical students, how they're helping others with their time and energy to make the holidays brighter for kids.
But first, it's an AccuWeather alert day. Tracy and Diane are keeping an eye on the messy forecast and, of course, how it affects the roads.
Good morning. Well, I just heard from Anson up in Cary. Says, yeah, it is snowing and it's coming down at a pretty good clip. You can see some of the snowflakes falling right here. I have some more pictures I'm going to share with you throughout the morning, too, as a messy mix is underway. So that's why we're referring to today as an AccuWeather alert day. Most of what we've had this morning has been a cold rain, but we're starting to see a transition and a mixing with some wet snow around the area this morning. I think areas north from O'Hare north, you're looking at 1 to 3 inches of snow, and we've started to see that transition from the city due west out to Darien, out to Woodridge, out to Streamwood. Very likely we could get a dusting to an inch of snow developing in those places this morning. And most of this does fall during these morning hours. Now, where you have the potential for more of a wet snow accumulation in Lake and McHenry as well as southern Wisconsin, that's where we have a winter weather advisory in effect until 1 o'clock this afternoon. You can see a fairly wide swath of precipitation. For the most part, it's just been that kind of bone-chilling cold rain that we have had. We've even seen in the city some of this rain mixing with some wet snowflakes, and I still wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple bolts of lightning as it starts to precipitate very, very hard in some places. Now, here's the futurecast. It continues to show this snowing throughout the morning hours, bumping up until the noon hour. Then this afternoon, we see the precipitation really diminishing. But our snowcast, once again, from O'Hare to the state line, we're looking at more in the way of some accumulation. But let's check in with Diane now, see if there's been an impact from this cold rain and wet snow on traffic.
We're definitely starting to see that change that you're talking about, Tracy. Let's get to the big map, and you can see it's starting to turn from yellow to red, which means traffic is getting a lot heavier. It is that time of the morning when it tends to do that, so it's pretty normal, nothing outstanding. We do have a crash, Gulf and Waukegan, over in Morton Grove. That's a very busy intersection, especially this time of the morning, so keep aware of that if you are in the area. Elgin, Randall Road, and Highland Avenue, we have a crash. Authorities on the scene of that. Here's where I said We're going to watch all these cameras, let you know when things change. We finally started to see a change over in our Rosemont camera. I know it's really hard to tell, but we see a little bit of transition from rain, and you see now that looks like white snowflakes. So this is again out in Rosemont where we are seeing this rain snow mix. Storm Tracker was out all morning just experiencing rain, but it looks like, Val, now it's starting to change in the north and northwest suburbs. Back to you.
Yeah, Diane, you got your hands full. Thank you. Well, the Christmas countdown is only 16 days away, and some area nursing students are coming together to make this holiday season special for some local kids. This morning, our John Garcia shows us how they're helping Operation Santa.
They're having a little bit too much fun, it seems. These nursing school faculty call themselves Anonymous Elves, wrapping up the joy for a family to open on Christmas Day.
We nurses, the spirit of giving is embedded in us.
They are from Ambria College in Hoffman Estates, and for the last couple of years they've been involved in Operation Santa, started by the United States Postal Service 110 years ago. Janice Hall has run the program in Chicago. It's a huge responsibility working for the big guy.
We have tissue in the back because we're actually crying as we read the letters.
For those of you that are new to Operation Santa,
The post office gets thousands of letters to Santa every year from all over the country, and the Anonymous Elves from different organizations help grant many of those wishes.
she's asking for a winter coat.
Ambria staff goes through some of the letters to determine who they can help.
There are tears when we sit and we read the letters. I would love to adopt as many as I could, but it's not possible.
Special delivery from the North Pole.
2 years ago, the staff adopted a family in North Carolina, a single mom of 2 children, who was also a nurse during the height of the pandemic. They never met the family, but are able to see them now thanks to the new series, Dear Santa.
Card for me. Merry Christmas from the Midwest Elves. Wow.
This is a labor of love for the students and staff at the college, but it's not without its own stresses. In fact, crunch time for Operation Santa comes at the same time as finals week for the school. In Hoffman Estates, John Garcia, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
And those nurses are featured in an episode of the Dear Santa docuseries. That's going to air here on ABC7 this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. You can also stream all of the episodes of Dear Santa right now on Hulu. Just looking at that makes you want to do something for somebody else. Yeah.
And 'tis the season for all that good stuff, too.
Right. Checking off the list for family, friends, but others as well. Still to stream this morning, the holiday adoption event that could have you, adding a furry friend to your family?
Eyewitness News streaming at 7 continues after a break.
The White House is hosting a virtual town hall today to talk about getting updated COVID-19 vaccines before the holidays. Dr. Anthony Fauci is among other doctors that'll be out there too. It's part of the president's efforts to get more Americans vaccinated before the end of the year. Bargaining agreements continue today to avoid a possible strike at the University of Illinois Chicago. Faculty are pushing for a contract that includes fair salaries, clear workplace policies, and job security. They say if an agreement is not reached, they will strike on January 17th. One more session is planned for Monday.
Also happening today, Senator Dick Durbin is expected to make a big announcement about federal funding for schools. During a news conference later this morning, Durbin will announce 2 federal grants for $2.9 million. Chicago Public Schools and the Illinois State Board of Education will receive the money for trauma-informed care in schools. And Paul, Chicago is kicking off its annual holiday adopt-a-thon. Today, the week-long adoption marathon aims to match 200 dogs and cats with loving homes just in time for the holidays. They have a wide variety of pets looking for their forever homes. The event kicks off at noon today and runs through December 17th. Paul, Chicago Lincoln Park Adoption Center has extended its hours for this special event. I think they have fostering.
Oh, right. So you
maybe, unless I'm getting my organizations mixed up, but like perhaps a foster situation might be a way to ease into the forever home.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Because you'll foster. The dangerous part of that is you'll foster.
And
You're supposed to give them back, yeah, and then it's fall in love with them.
We do this, I think, every time about this year. We could look at the little furry friends and think, oh, but you know what? Kobe is not going. No, he's like, I am the only pup in this palace.
Here.
Yes, don't even think about it.
Yep. So we're going to link up with everybody that's watching Good Morning America right now.
That's right. Tanya's going to have a news update on TV in just a bit. You're going to see it here as well. And then when we come back, a teenager is shot. Chicago police officers save his life. Now we get to see the emotional meeting as the officers are honored. Stay with us.
Now, an update from ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Good morning at 7:23. I'm Tanya Babich. A Suburban police officer is hospitalized after being shot responding to an armed robbery at a smoke shop. Lombard Village officials tell us one of the suspects has died. It happened yesterday near Roosevelt and Main Street in Lombard. Police say one of the suspects opened fire on the officers and officers returned fire. One suspect was killed. The officer is undergoing surgery for a gunshot wound to the leg. He's expected to be okay. Police say a second suspect is in custody and charges are pending. Let's get a check of our ABC7 AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Tracy Butler.
Hi there, Tanya. We are getting reports of just some very sloppy, slushy conditions up into some of our northern suburbs right now. Here in Chicago, it's primarily been a cold rain with a few wet snowflakes mixed in. Steady rain continuing over into northwest Indiana now as well. But since it has started snowing across some of our northern suburbs now, we will continue to see all snow throughout the better part of the morning. And we're looking at accumulations anywhere from about 1 inch to 3 inches of snow from O'Hare north. From the city due west, we'll probably get a dusting to maybe 1 inch of snow. Right now, temperatures are in the 30s. We'll take a break, Diane, after this.
Now's the time for a healthy start. So let's move. Let's rest and recharge. And put our health first. Let's be well. To do that, let's eat well. Breathe deep. Find joy in the little moments. And do what we love with who we love. Together, let's live well. Advocate Aurora Health.
1, 2.
Welcome back, everybody. We're mainly seeing wet pavement all across the board in our viewing area. So all of you that are making your way into the city are experiencing that wet pavement, that rain for the most part, and that is slowly starting to make these travel times rise just a little bit higher. Still nothing too bad out there yet this morning. I'll let you know if that changes, but I am watching this. It has now moved to the shoulder, so that's a bit of good news, but we're not sure yet if it's going to make a delay happen here. Southbound on the Tri-State right near 55th. This crash was in the lane, now moved over. Let's go to our Tollway 2 camera. This is what it looks like out in the northwest suburbs.
All right, so you're seeing it right there. Just a really wet and yucky day coming up today, especially this morning. Cold rain out there. Snow's already falling in some places. Adam from Woodstock just sent me a tweet. Said he's got snow coming down in his backyard. Right, it's up in McHenry County this morning. Yeah.
So can you say WFH?
What?
Don't you say anything.
Oh, I can't say it. So what is this?
Work from home.
Oh, that's not where I thought that whole thing was
now,
going.
do you think I would use such language?
Of course not.
Never
not a lady.
me.
No. Hey, I got a special honor for two officers who saved a 16-year-old boy's life after he was shot.
Yeah, they're making Chicago proud. Miles Dow was at an event with his parents on Thursday. They all got to meet the officers that saved the teenager's life. The Dow family had been driving home from dinner on the night of September 3rd when shots rang out in the 3500 block of West Wilson in the Albany Park neighborhood. A bullet came through the car window, striking the teen in the ear.
The bullet then lodged in his neck, a half centimeter from his spinal cord. Family flagged down officers Michael Penzine and Taras Adrushuko.
And they did more than just administer aid. They calmed us down. They kept us calm. They saved his life by putting compression on his wound before he could have an ambulance attend to him further. And if it wasn't for their swift actions, we would be in a very different state.
Miles is expected to make a full recovery, and as you can see, he looks like he's doing pretty well 3 months after that shooting.
Wow, scary situation. Thank goodness for those officers being right there on hand.
Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
More news coming up in about 30 seconds or so.
watching ABC7 Eyewitness News at 7, streaming live now.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be back with you. I'm Terrell Brown.
And I'm Val Warner. It is an AccuWeather alert day today. It's a messy morning commute out there right now at 7, and we have team coverage.
Yeah, of course, Diane's watching traffic this morning in the trouble spots. Tracy, I know you're watching this. We've been watching the radar all morning long. How long do we think this is going to last?
Oh, this is going to last all morning. I don't really see anything diminishing around here until we get into the afternoon. So the afternoon evening rush, not as problematic as what we have out there this morning. We have a winter weather advisory in effect, Lake and McHenry counties, as well as southern Wisconsin. In fact, I just heard from Roger in McHenry, who tells me he's had heavy sleet that has covered the ground up in McHenry. So that is, that's very slushy and can get a little tricky with travel. Right now, you look at Live Doppler 7 Max. Here in the city, we've fluctuated between some rain and wet snow. In northern Indiana, you've had mainly all rain. But for those of you in Lake and McHenry County where you've made more of a transition to sleet and even some snow, you'll continue to see a more frozen form of precipitation probably the rest of the morning. From Chicago out to Naperville, out to DeKalb, it's going to be more of a rain, at times wet snow, maybe back to rain. We're going to get a lot of back and forth, I think, with the precipitation in those parts this morning. Diane?
Really, and that's what we're watching too, Tracy, is that change and what it does to the road conditions, to the traffic conditions. But right now, again, it's mainly rain, but yeah, we are seeing a lot of that snow mix. So we're seeing a lot of inbound traffic delays, but nothing unusual. It's what we usually see this time of the morning. And the travel times are not really over 45 minutes right now on any of the major expressways coming into the Jane Byrne. I do want to take you to this crash that happened on the Tri-State near 55th. It's all on the shoulder. It's not in the way of traffic. Still, some folks are stopping to take a look, but it is on the shoulder, should be out of the way soon. Out in Bartlett, Stearns Road and Munger Road, we do have a crash in that intersection. Let's go out to our tollway camera and just take a look at the northwest suburbs. This is the Jane Addams I-90 right around Barrington Road, and you can actually see it is snowflakes there on the ground, even accumulating in the grass. Back to you.
All right, Diane, thank you. Now to an update on our top story this morning. Brittney Griner is back home in the U.S.
Talking about it all morning long, the big breaking news here about her release, and we saw it actually live earlier on this morning. Landed in Texas this morning around 4:30, Kelly Field in San Antonio. That's where she was taken, and then after that moved to Brooke Army Medical Center for a checkup. Griner spent much of the year behind bars in Russia.
ABC's Faith Abube has the very latest. She joins us live now from Griner's home state of Texas. Faith?
Val, Terrell, officials believe that Griner is in good physical health, but as a precaution, they have brought her here to the Brooke Army Medical Center behind me for a medical evaluation. It's not clear how long that will last, but they believe everything should work. The WNBA star landed just a few hours ago, as you just said. It was in San Antonio, Texas. A U.S. official also confirmed that she was back on U.S. soil. Of course, we saw the video of her getting off that plane. As you can imagine, loved ones have been eager, waiting for her to come back home. And Griner spent nearly 10 months imprisoned in Russia, arrested for illegally carrying hashish oil in a vape cartridge at a Moscow airport. President Biden made that announcement yesterday that he had agreed to a prisoner swap to bring Griner home. Video that we saw from Russian state media shows Griner leaving a Russian penal colony and then making her way to an airplane. Hours later, video shows her actually in a red coat on a tarmac in Abu Dhabi, being released into U.S. custody. And then on that tarmac, you saw a smiling man shaking hands and giving hugs. That man is Victor Bout, the notorious Russian arms dealer who the U.S. swapped in exchange for Griner's freedom. President Biden said yesterday that he had hoped to also secure the freedom of former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan. He's been held in Russia for 4 years now, accused of being a spy, but Russia rejected that proposal. So Secretary of State Antony Blinken insists that the U.S. made every possible offer in order to get Whelan home. That hasn't worked, but their effort continues. Back to you, Val and Terrell.
Faith Abube in San Antonio, Texas this morning. Faith, thank you for the update. I remember 2020. we're doing the show and we started hearing about something called COVID-19 for the first time, and there were all kinds of questions. There was a lot of confusion, and a doctor came along, Dr. Robert Citrenberg, who answered a lot of those questions, infectious disease specialist from Advocate Aurora Health, and helped us to make sense of what was happening in the pandemic in that moment.
And because of safety protocols, he's always joined us live via Zoom, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, providing his insight on the very latest COVID headlines.
Well, this morning, we are thrilled to have the man in the studio. There he is, Dr. Robert Citrenberg. Doctor, it is so good to see you this morning.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Terrell and Bill.
It's nice to have you, and we still have questions.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on right now. A new COVID booster authorization. What is it, and what is it supposed to do?
So the FDA has now approved the bivalent or new booster for kids between 6 months and 5 years old, which is certainly good for those kids who've gotten the vaccines. But the real problem is that only about 10% of kids in that age group have actually gotten vaccinated. That's our bigger concern. Certainly good news for those who've gotten it. And some of that vaccine hesitancy has actually spilled over into the routine childhood vaccinations like MMR and polio. And I think that really is going to be a big problem going forward if we start to see things like measles and rubella and polio, things that we thought were eradicated but really aren't. So that's really the bigger concern, is that so few kids are getting vaccinated in that age group.
So is that reason for parents to be really nervous?
I don't think they should be nervous per se, but I think the best you can do is certainly get your kids vaccinated, certainly with all the routine vaccines. And I do understand some of the hesitancy regarding the COVID vaccines because they were newer and they were at first relatively untested. But
can't really use that excuse now. It's been 2 years, right?
We've had it now for a couple of years, exactly. So I think it's time. But we just really, especially for those little kids, it's important for them to get not only their COVID vaccine, but their routine vaccinations as well.
And speaking of COVID-19, now we have COVID-19, we have RSV, we have the flu. So many of those symptoms are similar and folks are getting confused as to what's what. Can you break all of those down for us in terms of the symptoms?
Sure. Well, there's three viruses circulating right now, as you talked about, the influenza or flu, RSV or respiratory syncytial virus it's called, and COVID. And they all have some similar symptoms. RSV and influenza are primarily respiratory viruses. So, coughing, fever, cough, congestion. COVID, of course, has those symptoms that also because it can affect every part of the body. You can get lots of other symptoms, like the loss of taste and smell and weakness and gastrointestinal symptoms that can come with COVID too. But there is a lot of overlap between those. So it's really important to get tested. We actually have a test available that can detect COVID, a single test that can detect COVID, influenza A, influenza B, and RSV, all from the same test. Oh, wow. So if you are concerned and you don't know what it is, it's not always possible to know what it is. You can get tested and you can find out exactly which virus you have. And then, of course, the treatment's going to be different depending on what virus that you have.
How can you get that test, doctor? Do you have to go to the hospital?
Most emergency rooms and many urgent care, ambulatory urgent care clinics. For example, at Advocate Aurora Health, at our urgent care centers or immediate care centers, we have that test available, as do most emergency rooms.
Which you bring up a really good point here, because I, to this point, have not had COVID.
Wow.
Find something to knock on. Hold
on.
Find
some wood. You are rare. That's rare.
I have not had COVID yet. But, doctor, I've been so sick. I mean, I've been out of work for 2 weeks with something. Yeah. Right? So there is a lot going on out there. At what point do you say, I need to go to a hospital and see a doctor?
That's a great question. For most people, especially if you're healthy, otherwise healthy, usually you can sweat it out and you'll get better without needing to be hospitalized. The real symptoms that I tell people that are the most important, the single most important one, is shortness of breath. If you're having difficulty breathing, for example, if you're trying to walk up a flight of stairs and you find that you're so winded you can't get up that flight of stairs easily, that's a sign to go to the doctor, maybe even go to the emergency room, because that means that your oxygen level could potentially be low in your blood, and that's really the single biggest trigger. Otherwise, though, but if you are, I tell people who are older, maybe have chronic medical problems, they should not hesitate to contact their physician if they're concerned about their symptoms. And also for little kids too. You mentioned RSV. RSV tends to affect babies who are 6 months and younger. Parents with young kids, with babies, are very concerned when their kids are sick, as they should be. So for babies who are under 6 months old, it's really important to get medical care, at least to call the doctor and figure out the next step from there.
Earlier this week, we're reporting on issues with over-the-counter medicine, supply chain issues. What are you seeing or hearing about that, and what can people take, if anything, over the counter?
There's been a big shortage of Tamiflu and all that's which is the drug that is used to treat influenza. I think that what I understand is now starting to get a little bit better, but there are about 10 different companies that make this drug, and none of them really had a good supply of it. Now it does seem that the supply chain has improved, but there was some concern initially, especially a couple of weeks ago, because so many people are getting the flu. The flu is rampant right now, and people are getting really sick from it. And for a time, there wasn't enough treatment for it. Right now, it looks like there's a pretty decent supply of the drugs to treat influenza. But, you know, we don't know how long this flu season is going to go. It started really early. We don't know how long it's going to go, but at least right at the moment, there do seem to be an adequate supply of drugs for the flu.
That's good to hear. Dr. Everett Citronberg, thank you. Nice to see you.
I was about to say, now, which is better, being in here or doing the Zoom from home? I got to ask before we let you go.
Love being here in person.
Got it.
Good.
I love having you.
Thank you so much. Your insight is always helpful to us.
And so there's a push to protect people from the flu and the COVID virus.
That's right. Chicago's health department is holding free flu and COVID vaccine clinics tomorrow. One is from 9 until 2. That's at Olive Harvey College. The other is at the Blue Door Neighborhood Center, Morgan Park. And that one is from 11 to 2.
ABC7 Eyewitness News streaming out loud this morning. We'll take a quick break. We're back with more in 90 seconds.
Good morning. It's turning out to be just a miserable weather morning out there. Anson and Carrie sent me this picture. You see some snow covering the ground there. I also heard from Roger and McHenry telling me he has sleet all over McHenry. Overall, primarily what we've had so far this morning has been a cold rain, but wet snow has begun. We've even seen some wet snowflakes here in the city. I think if you use the benchmark from O'Hare northward, that's where we'll most likely see 1 to 3 inches of accumulation. From the city due west, very likely we could get a dusting to about 1 inch of snow in that line. Well, as we look, winter weather advisory in effect till 1 o'clock this afternoon. Lake McHenry, southern Wisconsin. Here's a peek at the radar now, because again, we have been seeing a transition to from a cold rain to some snow at times, to some sleet at times. I wouldn't be surprised at all if somebody sees a little bit of lightning this morning, as some of this rain, this cold rain, is just pouring out there. Diane?
And what we're seeing right here outside of our State Street studio just looks to be rain, but as you mentioned, Tracy, it's very different if you head a little bit outside of the city, because most of our cameras are actually actually showing snow. So I wanted to run through a few of them for you to give you an idea. This is a look at our Rosemont camera out in the northwest suburbs. All snow there. You get a little closer to the city. This is the Kennedy coming in. You can barely see. The visibility is really bad, and it's got that snow rain mix. Then you go a little further south. It gets a little lighter. Here it's just mainly rain. So it gives you an idea of how wherever you are in the city or around the city, it's vastly different. Let's go back out to the northwest suburbs using our tollway camera. And this is right around Barrington on I-90. And you can see here, yes, it's a little bit of snow, but the pavement is wet. So again, it's that rain-snow mix. Just wherever you're going this morning, give yourself a little extra time and drive carefully. Back to you.
All right, and remember, you can get up-to-the-minute weather conditions in your neighborhood. Just use your smartphone right now. Come on over to the screen. Hover your camera over this QR code that you see at the bottom of your screen there. It will give you a link to our Doppler 7 Max radar. Good information to have on your phone.
Always.
A company called US Captioning does the subtitles for live events on TV.
Yeah, you're watching TV and it looks like somebody's typing the words out. Somebody is. So they came out with this annual list of the most mispronounced words of the year. They pulled a bunch of people who do, TV news like us and announcers to find out which words they had trouble with. So I'm going to put the words on the screen. Okay. Ladies, I'll ask you what you think. So there's the first, second, and third one. And then after that, I'll go through and let you know if you got it right. So,
Domino Gleason?
Okay, so you guys are going to go
That's
with
what I would have said.
Yeah, what do you think? That's same thing you say, Diane? Okay. The second one? Well, wait, that's not... This is one that's often mispronounced, but I think we know this one.
Do we? Edinburgh?
Edinburgh?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's... It's a little different than the one I have on my list. Anyway, what about that last one?
Well, I know the first word is Negroni because that's a drink, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're on the, yep.
I don't know what that second word is.
Right.
Bagliato?
Right. See, that's the thing. They get you with the letters that are silent and all that. All right, so let's go through it. The first one, Dono Gleason.
Okay.
Second one, Edinburgh. Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
I'm supposed to be doing this and walking y'all through it, but hell, I don't know the words either.
Right. I said Edinburgh, but it was Edinburgh. I didn't get borough though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Negroni.
Yeah,
Spagliato.
Spagliato.
Are these things used that often?
Yeah,
well,
and
that's
in
the thing.
America?
Yeah, not really. So Donnell Gleeson is an Irish actor, called out Stephen Colbert for mispronouncing his name. Negroni Spagliato, alcoholic beverage.
It's a drink, right?
Yeah, exactly. It came from House of Dragon from actor Emma.
That's like a big one in Italy and stuff.
It's sparkling white wine or Prosecco instead of gin.
Sound yummy?
I love Prosecco. I've never heard of that one.
Sparkly. You like sparkles? I like sparkles. You like bubbles?
So there it is. Yep, there's the list. I couldn't help y'all a whole bunch.
So did we pass?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I don't. All of us failed.
But I've never
Everybody
used
gets
a single
an F.
one of those.
I know, me either.
I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. Right.
All right.
We just joined the list.
Okay, so.
Have you ever used any?
No.
Just making sure it's not me.
No.
Those are all like, but that's the point. I mean, so many times. I mean, I had one earlier today. I was like, did I say that right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it does happen. It does happen for sure. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up after the break, we're going to dive into Sam's Toy Box. We'll be right back.
In today's edition of Sam's Toy Box, we have retro toys, gifts that adults may remember playing with when they were young.
Samantha Chapman shares the nostalgic toys that'll definitely take you back down memory lane.
Today we have our retro toy, so we're throwing it back a little bit.
We are going to throw it back.
We're starting with the Lil Cuddles So Real Laughing Baby by Madame Alexander.
Madame Alexander is celebrating 100 years next year. They have been making collector dolls and baby dolls that people just love. So this is our Little Cuddles. It's a so real laughing doll, and if you are a mom, then you know it's so much better to have a laughing baby than a crying one.
This doll looks so real. It's coming in at $19.97 for children 2 and up. Next on our list, another throwback, Barrel of Monkeys.
So we take a monkey, and your job is to try and scoop up as many as you can without dropping them.
Now, I surprised myself with this game. I was on a roll with these monkeys.
Wow!
Kids 3 and up will love it, and it'll only cost you $8.95.
When we talk about retro, Lego fits the bill.
Of course.
90 years we've been playing with Legos.
Wow.
With this classic edition, kids, adults, and grandparents can revel in a fun, nostalgic building experience as the little ones discover the world of Lego. The set is on the market for $49.99. Excellent for kids 5 and up. The Nintendo Switch Sports is a new take on the traditional Nintendo play. This toy allows kids to kick, swing, and spike their way into victory with a collection of sports that puts them right into the action.
Tennis or badminton or bowling. Every single thing you do, you're not going to be sitting on the couch. You are standing up and you are doing the actual actions, and that is how you're scoring in the game.
It's great for kids 10 and up, coming in at $49.99. Samantha Chapman, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Well, them prices ain't from back in the day.
They're new age prices.
If you like something that you saw, you want to know where Sam got it from, Sam Chapman has those toys and more on our website, abc7chicago.com.
More news coming your way in 90 seconds.
Eyewitness News streaming at 7 continues after a break.
Top stories that we're watching for you now on a Friday morning. WNBA star Brittney Griner is back home right now. She's being checked out at Brooks Army Medical Center. Her release was made possible due to a prisoner swap. Griner spent more than 10 months in prison in Russia, arrested for illegally carrying hashish oil and vape cartridges at the Moscow airport.
And we're going to have obviously much more on this throughout the day right here on ABC7. So make sure you watch the news at 11. And of course, you can keep up with us online. That's going to do it for us today. Have a great weekend. It's going to be kind of a messy start to the weekend. But Diane and Tracy, of course, are watching the roads and the traffic. We're going to hear from them in just a moment.
They'll keep you posted during Good Morning America. In the meantime, we're going to get out of here. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy holidays to you. We'll see you back here live Monday morning.
This has been Eyewitness News, streaming at 7. Now, an update from ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Good morning at 7:56. I'm Tanya Babbage. Right now, Chicago police are searching for a man who is targeting women on the north side. CPD released a new image of the suspect. They say he will immediately use stolen credit cards from his victims to buy merchandise and gift cards after taking off in a U-Haul truck. Police say he's responsible for at least 3 robberies that happened on Tuesday. No arrests have been made. Stay with us. We'll check on weather and traffic up next.